Hey folks, this is BestInSlot and welcome to Isla Sorna. This is a really cool custom map made by Liced based on both the Lost World Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3. It basically rebuilds Isla Sorna here on Evolution 2 to include all of the pivotal scenes from both of those films in a way that feels somewhat logical. They're a little bit detached from each other. We're going to do this video more as a series of vignettes, I suppose. But it's still really cool. There's some really cool recreations. It's definitely made me want to do some, recreations now. We've got more mod capabilities and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I've hopefully put these in some sort of correct order. And we're just going to go on a walking / helicopter tour where need be of all these different scenes from Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. And you can see how it comes together as a park. And I'll do a quick overview at the very end as well. Let's get started. Slipping this in at the end. The Lost World actually begins, obviously, with a little prologue and the introduction to Ian Malcolm, riffing a little bit on the original Jurassic Park with a compy attacking a child. And they're here, they're on a rich person holiday, they're chilling out by the beach. And they've recreated it. So we've got the little rocks there at the beachfront, and then we've got the little seating area over here and a couple of deck chairs. And also this is where the parents are lying and drinking their Mai Tais and such. And the kid wanders off, as kids do, and then, approaches sort of the brushy sort of area and feeds the compies a little bit of, there are actually some compies around here, they're impossible to see, feeds the compies some food and gets herself torn apart a little bit. She doesn't die, she does survive, but she's a silly goose. But yeah, it's a really cool little recreation of it. Anyways, let's get to the rest of the film. Okay, we're going to start off with the Lost World Jurassic Park, and as I said, we're going to try to do these in roughly chronological order. So we're here in the midst of the forest, the river running through, and as you can see, we've got ourselves our lovely stegosaurs, our Lost World style stegosaurs with that beautiful skin, that lovely tail positioning, more importantly than anything else. I really like how the plates look as well. And of course, this is where Harding was observing, taking photographs of the little baby. Parents got all annoyed and Malcolm was all freaking out and such things. This was kind of our introduction to the dinosaurs of the Lost World, other than the compy scene on the beach. There we go. It looks really effective. It looks really good. You can definitely imagine sort of creeping behind these logs and poking your head out like a voyeur to observe the stegos, which look beautiful emerging from the bushes. I think they've sunk a load of trees into the ground to create the sort of bushy effects we've got around us. It definitely feels a little different. We've also had a visitor, which is more for the end of the film, but they've decided to come over here. But yeah, so that is how we're doing things today. That's the start of it. And where do we go from here? Well, now to get the full feeling for this one, you have to imagine I'm on a motorbike, okay? But this is the game trail, of course. It's a really well-made game trail. Meow. So we've got some gallimimus knocking around. We've got the rock plinth that they drive past at one point. We've got a couple of we've got Pachycephalosaurus, of course, Friar Tuck. And over here, we've got Mamenchisaurus. I'm just going to try to, just like the film. There we go. So we've got a couple of Mamenchis. Got a log thingamajiggy there. And as you can see, some parasaurs, and some trikes over here at the side as well. And it's actually a really cool recreation of the film version, because it's got this kind of curve of trees in the middle, which is there in the film. I'm going to show you this very quickly from above as well. The full-on game, it really does look like the film come to life. I guess the film was already in life, you know what I mean? But still, it's very cool to see. It's very accurate to the film. There's actually some other lovely little details in the area. If we head down here, I believe it is, and on the right-hand side, if I've got the area correct, which I probably do, question mark, I believe this is meant to be the little area where they put, I don't know if I'm reading this situation wrong, but I think this is where they left the baby Tyrannosaurus Rex. They had broken its leg and they were trying to lure the mother in, and they were sitting on a tree nearby observing this little pit where they'd put the Rex so they could lure the mother in. I believe this little bit is also meant to be where Dieter Stark stuns the Compsognathus using the cattle prod, much to the derision of the paleontologist. Of course, later that night is when we see the game trail camp. So we've got it here with all the cages ready for the trikes and such things. We've got various different cages, all the lights put up in this sort of section. This is, of course, the gang, as they should be known, emerged from the hill nearby and from the tree line, and they kind of go through here with the bolt cutters and start releasing all the dinosaurs, which should mean there should be some tents down here at the far. It just looks really well. I love how they've done the rock positioning. There should be some tents down here. Yep, so of course this is where they were showcasing San Diego. before the attack happened, probably in this tent right here. I had a little table out. And then over there you've got your larger cage ready for the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which of course Frontier added fairly recently, well, not fairly recently anymore, but yeah, so we've got the, I'll show you this from above as well, just in case, but there you go. As you can see, we've got the game trail encampment. Also occurring at night, of course, we've got the famous trailer scene. Now, this was there on the Nexus mod page. Of course, I'll link this mod, map, I should say, down below if you want to download it and explore it for yourselves, but it didn't load in for some reason, so I've kind of recreated it as best I could. But we've got one of the trailers from the Frontier decorations that's kind of hanging over the edge of the cliff, ready to be torn over there. And over here we've got a vehicle ready to go as well, where of course Eddie would be in there right now, being eaten alive by Tyrannosaurus Rexes. Is it moving for some reason? I thought they were going to drive away, so it's cool that that's worked. So that's kind of like a little recreation of that scene. Anyway, another nighttime shot. Lost World's a very dark film. There's a lot of nighttime shooting, and Harding and little Malcolm are chowing down on some snacks, and you know the T-Rex has been lured by the scent of blood on Harding's shirt. The T-Rex starts to attack the camp, and everyone's getting screaming and running away, blah blah blah. Carter gets stomped on, that's his name, right? Carter, the lad who gets crushed to death, and everyone's running down this little gully. You know, you're being chased by, imagine it's a T-Rex there. You're being chased by a T-Rex. And we all know what's coming soon. It's going to be the death of our paleontologist. We turn to the left. We've got the little... I think this is really cool. We've got the waterfall cave that they hide in. And you run inside here. Whew. Unfortunately, you can't quite see it because of the coloration and stuff. Like, you can't actually see the waterfall when you're inside the cave. But it looks really cool. So you'd be standing over here at this side. And the Rex is on the other side. And that big, thick tongue comes in. And then you freak out about... you even got the water dripping in from the back, as it would be. And then you freak out about a snake that wasn't even poisonous, and you run out, and you get eaten alive by a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then it goes all red and bloody. And the group, ravaged, torn apart, starts to head into the wilderness. They're just running now. It's running for survival. The Rex has eaten a bunch of you, and you're going to run into that famous location, maybe the most famous location of Lost World, considering it's just a field. It's the long grass, of course. It's the long grass. People are running, and the raptors begin to... Well, people are just walking initially. They're just moving forward. There's a little group of them left, and they're just walking forward, and you see the raptors. One of my favourite shots, if not my favourite shot in the Lost World, that's that shot of the raptors closing in from the side. You see these, just the shapes sort of moving through, cutting through these tunnels through the grass. It's very, very effective. There are actually raptors in here. I just can't seem to find them. Oh. Okay, I've done the logical thing and turned off starvation for the dinosaurs, but you're moving through the long grass. You can barely see, but you hear the people behind you getting killed one by one, and you are just charging, sprinting forward through the grass, trying to survive, but you see the heads bobble there. In the distance, you hear the call of the Velociraptor. Bom, bom, bom. Sorry. Trying to make it dramatic. There it is, looking menacing as all heck. So you're all getting killed, you're all getting wiped out, and you run, 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 and I think there should be a path through somewhere. I'm going to find it. Into the brush we go. You emerge through the grass, and then you tumble down this steep cliff, this steep muddy hill. Bonka, 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 bonka. That's the sound that falling makes. Bonka, bonka, bonka. And you end up in a little graveyard. You know, there's definitely... You feel like you're away from the main danger up the hill, but yeah, there's maybe not. There's carcasses everywhere. Clearly, something's been hunting here. And in the distance, looking incredible in this build, is the worker village. Really looks good. They've done a fantastic job. So we're going to approach in here, and of course we're still being chased by the raptors, who are here. We're going to hide in some cars and such to try and survive. We've got we've got various buildings. We've got a geothermal plant over here that's burning down. We've got a couple of these modded buildings, including like the gas station kind of thing here, and the in-general store, the kind of thing you would have in an actual worker village. Never really felt like a worker village in the film so much, but I think, you know, you can see maybe this is the roof that we fall off at some point. You know, we tumble down here if we're Harding, or we bust through a window and stuff like that and end up out here. It's actually a really, really cool recreation with the raptor wandering about. And then of course you've got the main building up here. This should be lights out, but there's not much we can do about that. And then up there as well, you've got the helipad that they take to eventually get out. This is when they escape the place and they fly over, and they, of course they would see the Tyrannosaurus Rex at this point that's been captured by the hunters. And of course at this point they go off to the city, and we have that all kind of thing. And then at the end of the film, Hammond comes on the TV And overlaid that, we get this footage on this lovely wide open plain. It's just talking about how the dinosaurs need our absence to thrive. We shouldn't be getting involved. If we're not here, they can do their thing. So we've got the Rex couple, as you can see, hanging out over here, looking very cool. We've got a couple of stegos wandering around, and in the air we've got our famous The Lost World blue pteranodon, who's currently being a bit of a pain, refusing to do anything cool. But there they are. There's our famous blue pteranodon from the end of The Lost World as well. Very, very cool. Hello, beautiful. Do 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 do. There you go, beautiful. End of Lost World right there. Fantastic. So Jurassic Park 3, of course, this map is the Jurassic Park 3 Sorna. So it's got a couple of things that are relevant to the film. We've seen the parachute at some point as well, and you would be approaching something like this. This is, of course, the airstrip, the airfield, where the plane initially comes down. I'm just trying to... That sounds like a plane. Anyways, the plane lands slowly, comes to a stop. Very sharply, everyone gets flown forward and dies, and they go out and they try to find their missing child. There's then several scenes with the Spinosaurus and such, which aren't really recreated here. The Spinosaurus we're going to see very shortly, but they go and they explore the old abandoned genetics facility, and of course we've got that slightly ridiculous scene where the raptor pretends to be in a glass tube thingamajiggy, and they get attacked and they start to run out. So this is one, of course, that Frontier provides as part of the map, and they've added their own little building over there to fill it up a little bit more. Then they run out to the side, they run through the herd of Coryphosaurus and Parasaurolophus, all of which have disappeared back into the undergrowth. If there's one criticism I have of this map, it's that it needs way more invisible fences. The dinosaurs keep walking all over the place. They're never where they should be. If they just utilize the invisible fence from the Cardenic mod a lot more, it would be more effective. Because this was, when I first loaded in, absolutely chock-a-block with Corys. Anyways, they run through the herd of Corys. They're getting chased by the raptors. They run through the Corys. They run through the Parasaurolophuses. At one point they get split up. Grant's off doing his own thing, as Grant is wont to do, and over here, and he gets rescued by Eric, and of course that's what we've got here. We've got the truck sort of sunken down into the mud a little bit. Eric's hiding in there, the compies are in the area, and then, you know, the whole discussion about T-Rex P. But there we've got the truck sinking into the mire there that Eric and Grant hang out in, which I think is a really cool little detail as well. Okay, here's where the Jurassic Park 3 stuff starts to get good. We've got that big scene here where we've got... I adore this fence, this chunky Jurassic Park 3 fence. We've got Eric and Grant on one side, we've got the Kirbys and Billy on the other side, and they are running along, trying to find a gap in the fence where they can, you know, reunite as a family and reunite as a friend group and all that kind of jazz. We have the whole discussion about the bag and all that kind of jazz. And then they hear the phone. They're like, how did you find us? We heard the ringtone. And then they turn behind themselves. And in the tree line over there, that's where they see the Spinosaurus staring at them from within the undergrowth. And then they start to sprint around. They find a little gap in the fence. And they run and they run and they run and they run over here. And then they get to around here. They turn around. And that's when the Spinosaurus just barges through the fence, shatters the fence. And they have to run into this building right here, which is a really cool combination of the bunker and the viewing dome, and it actually does look somewhat similar to the film. So they run and they get into here, and then of course they drop down because it's kind of built into the side of a cliff, and from here they go down into the aviary. Now unfortunately I can't stand on the bridge, as you'll see. I'll try to do it again, but I would love to cross the bridge, but it kind of slips me across here and then it kind of drops me down to the ground. So I can't get onto the bridge and showcase that properly, but there they've built the actual bridge. Of course, you know, they go one at a time. We've got the sort of route going down the side. This is part of the Triceratops Lodge. And then that goes across there. And as you can see, we've got all these cages strung together to resemble the walkways from Jurassic Park 3. And over here, we've got the rock pillars. You know, they would end up along here. They've got the rock pillars where Billy is leaping between them with his parachute equipped. And as you can see, you've got the eggs and the nests on one of them as well, where, you know, all the little baby pterosaurs start to snap at Billy, and Billy eventually falls into the river and gets carried away downstream, never to be seen again, except at the end of the film. But I feel like he should have died. At the other side, we've got the gate that lets them get out, but of course what they do is they swim underneath and then they head down the river. So let's do just that. Imagine we're on a boat right now, okay? Just you have to picture yourself being on a boat, otherwise this doesn't work. Imagine boat noises. Chuka, 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 chuka. All my vehicles sound the same. Every vehicle I've ever been in goes chuka, 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 chuka. Anyways, they've escaped from the aviary. Blee's dead. They're going to have a very sad conversation about wanting to, you know, difference between astronauts and the scientists to put people on the moon and such things. And then we have this beautiful scene. If we just move our boat a little bit further down the river here. It's cool. This water's obviously super shallow. But if you just keep the camera facing upwards, you don't really notice that. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty deep. It just looks like a deep river that you would maybe move down. It's pretty sweet. And then, of course, the boat trundles along. And we get this beautiful scene by the side of the boat as it moves along, where we are introduced to the Jurassic Park 3 Brachiosaurus. And the Jurassic Park 3 Ankylosaurus. And it's done really well with these bushes down at the edge of the shoreline. You know, the little dip there, and then the Brachie on the other side. Brachie, of course, turns towards us at the end, leans its head down and goes... That's my best impression you're going to get. There are some Ankies up here as well, I believe. We've got some Stegos. We've got Trikes. Ankylosaurus over there, yep. But yeah, I think that's. I'm gonna move you across. I'm just gonna. Again, I think this is just a problem with, like, it needs more invisible fences. There should be an invisible fence along this line right here, and then that would have solved the problem. Anyways, so they're moving down river, sadness in the air, and they start to hear the ringtone, the fabled ringtone, and they think it is once again the Spinosaurus. So you can see all these dark forests on the right hand side, and you hear the ringtone, and they're all staring out of the boat as the boat turns the corner and it's heading down the river, and they're ready, and they're just waiting for that Spinosaurus to be there. Of course, what it actually is piles and piles of dinosaur dung. So they hop out and they start to rummage around, having a little look around, and then suddenly, look out, where? And you look up, and there's our Ceratosaurus. Currently having a little right. He's had a long day. There's been a lot of defecating. But you know what? He's going to leave in a second anyway. The smell of the feces is not, you know... Ooh, calm down, buddy. Yeah, and there he goes. He's dissuaded by the smell. He's going to head off into the forest. I've actually put a little fence up, so he's not going to go anywhere. But then they head off. For some reason, I can't lower the camera anymore on this. Anyways, they're moving down the river. The rain starts to pick up. It is pouring it down. And of course, the Spinosaurus is beginning to slink through the water. And then we get Paul Kirby's hero moment. Here we've got this crane kind of set up in the water. The Spinosaurus is there. The flames are burning, and everyone thinks Paul is dead. And then Paul falls. So he falls from here, doesn't he, basically? Like, there's something like this. Paul falls from here. Spinosaurus is dissuaded by the flames. Grant and the gang go all over on this side. I have to stay in capture camera here to keep the rain. They're all over here watching, and somehow what Paul does, and they're watching from a distance, they're like right over here watching Paul swing around with the Spinosaurus in the flames. And Paul falls and he swims all the way underwater the whole way. He goes and swims all the way past them and then reappears behind them, which I always found very strange. Unless he gets up and he walks onto land, but even still, then he's walked around his family to reappear behind them to scare them. I always found it very strange. But my hero Paul Kirby keeps the Spinosaurus busy, lets the flames do their job, and of course the Spinosaurus is eventually driven out into the wilderness. But of course we're not quite done with Jurassic Park 3 at this point. The raptors have been pursuing them for the entire film, this beautiful creature over here, and the reason of course is the lucky bag that Grant is now carrying contains raptor eggs. So here we have that near enough climactic scene where the raptors gather around in sort of 3 different points. There's the male over there, the female is out there somewhere in the undergrowth, but they've built the scene really nicely. All the logs and the rocks sort of making this little triangle, sort of pyramid kind of shape. And of course Amanda would come forward and tentatively put those eggs on the ground. They start to get slowly picked up, and then the raptors seem agitated. Maybe they're not just going to take the eggs and leave them alone. But of course, what they end up hearing is the sound of the military approaching on the nearby beach. Hello, beautiful. And I think that's meant to be this bit. So they run from the raptors over there. They're running. The guy is on the beach going, rah, 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 rah. I can't remember what he says. He shouts down his megaphone, and he would be standing around here. And they're like, no, shut it off, be quiet, be quiet. And then suddenly the entire military arrives on the beaches to save the day. And that is the end of Jurassic Park 3, my beloved. So yeah, a really, really cool series of just tons of stuff. So there's the Brachiosaurus River ride. We've got the game trail over there, the little encampment over there. We've got over here the ending of the Lost World. It's just, it doesn't all necessarily logically fit together. And there's a couple of changes. The two primary changes I would have made. A, lots more invisible fences. The dinosaurs needed to be contained a whole lot more. And B, it would have been nice if there were paths leading between the events of the film. I've kind of had to fly around a bit like a maniac. It would be cool if it was more like a walking tour of these vignettes. But really good. I mean, this I think is really fantastically well built. I'm going to stick a raptor in there. The aviary in the mountains like that. And then it's got, of course, the cages built into the walls, the walkways. We've got our, we didn't actually see any pterosaurs when I came in here, but you can see our pterosaur there. Our Jurassic Park 3 pterosaur, beloved Pteranodon. Fantastically styled, waterfalls down the side. It looks really cool down here. It feels like this enclosed aviary, just as it does in the film. It is pouring down with rain. Our Jurassic Park 3 curved fence there where the Spinosaurus attacks, taking you to the place where the aviary drops down. We've got the airfield. We've got the Coryphosaurus and Parasaur herd, which have, as you can see, this is what I'm talking about. They're all over the goddamn place. There's even some compies over here, which I think are probably meant to be part of the truck thing. It's just got a lot of really cool little things. Definitely inspired me to do something maybe akin to this myself. We'll do something different. I'm thinking of like a car tour that would take you around the films, basically. I think that's something we can maybe do now, make it like a film tour. And yeah, that's about it from me. So thank you so much for joining me. Come back tomorrow, of course, for our Prehistoric Kingdom live stream. Very exciting times. And yeah, I'm going to go because I want to. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks very soon. Cheers much as always. Bye-bye.